One more thing to do today. So I was thinking about this on my day off yesterday about 7-on-7. This is 7-on-7 season. There was a 7-on-7 SQT that finished up yesterday after a rain delay.
Mm-hmm.
There's more SQTs this weekend. There's more SQTs the week after that. I mean, it's 7-on-7 season. And I think the question, let me back up a moment.
Okay.
I have not always been a 7-on-7 fan.
Okay.
I've always looked at it as like, okay, like, what's the big deal? Like, I don't really get it. Like, it's just not necessarily for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I didn't necessarily understand the hype around it. I've grown to like it. I've grown to appreciate. I don't think I love it in the same way that like Matt Stepp does.
Mm-hmm.
But I have grown to really appreciate it, and I've grown to appreciate all the things that come with it, like that you get a look at some of the quarterbacks and the receivers, right? And the defensive backs. You get an opportunity for us, and in the Layering Press, we get an opportunity to go and chat with coaches and things like that, get some insights. Those are the things that I really like about 7-on-7.
It's also football action in the spring, which is fun.
And in the end, it's football in the summer when we're starved for football, and so I just like football.
It's the chips and salsa before the entree comes out.
Before the entree, exactly. Right. But one of the hang-ups that I think some people have is, what's the big deal? It doesn't tell you, like, doesn't count. You know, like what matters is what happens in the fall. Mm-hmm. And to be clear, you're right.
That is
like
fair. Mm-hmm.
winning the state 7-on-7 tournament is nice, but I think every player, every coach, every person in the state would tell you that they would prefer to win in December than win in June. Okay,
absolutely.
This is not a you have to choose one. There's no comparison to that.
AT&T Stadium is the goal, not necessarily Veterans Memorial Park.
Exactly. Right. But is there a tie? Is there something that we can glean from 7-on-7 that will allow us to project into the fall as to how these teams are going to do? Because these are players, not always, with some teams, it's not always their starting quarterbacks, not always their starting receivers, not always their starting defensive backs, but for a lot of teams it is. And so the question becomes, can we glean anything from the results of the state 7-on-7 tournament that will allow us to project what those teams will do in the fall? And it's a debate that you said you have some stats. I'm going to let you do the stats.
Okay.
Because you said you did a little bit of research for this topic.
So, in 2019, the 8 quarterfinalists in Division I combined to go on an incredible 91-13 record in the fall in real football. The 8 quarterfinalists in Division II went on a combined 78-24 record in the fall. That included in that list was 4A Division II state runner-up and 2 regional semifinalists, along with a 4A Division I regional finalist and regional semifinalist. So
pretty good.
They made it pretty far. In Division III, the final 8-team standings were a combined 79-24 in the fall, with a 2A Division II state semifinalist, a 2A Division II regional finalist, and a pair of 3A Division II regional semifinalists included in that group.
So overall, if you went to the quarterfinals of the state tournament, it projected well for the fall. I've got a different set of stats.
Okay.
I went back to 2015. And go 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. Obviously, there wasn't a state tournament in 2020, so we don't have that data. But the last 5 years of data that we have for the state tournament, and I looked at the champions for each division and what they did the next year. Okay? Let's go back to 2015. 2015, the Division I champion was Austin Westlake. Westlake played for a title that year, lost in overtime to Galena Park North Shore. Division II champion was Navasota. Navasota, 12-1 regional semifinalists. They lost to Carthage that year. 2016. This is the one that I think really ticks it for me. 2016, Division I, the Woodlands won. That was Eric Schmidt.
Yes.
I believe.
Yes. Now of Western Kentucky.
And no. That's you're thinking Bailey's Happy.
Oh, wrong one.
Eric Schmidt is
Sam Houston.
They went 15-1 and played for a state title, ended up losing to Lake Travis. That was the one that I was like, oh, that was a team that maybe we didn't necessarily see coming, but the Woodlands rose up and made it to the title game. 2016, Division II was Kaufman. Kaufman went 8-4. They were an area finalist. 2017, Lake Travis, 13-3, state finalist, lost to Allen in the title game. Division II in 2017, Graham won the title, 14-1 state semifinalist, lost to Pleasant Grove in the semifinals. 2018, College Station, They go 9-3. Those to eventual state champion Highland Park in the area round.
Mm-hmm.
Division 2, Midlothian Heritage. 11-2, regional semifinals. They lost to Carthage in what Midlothian Heritage fans will say is an extremely controversial ending. Division 3, Gunner. 14-1, state semifinalist, lost to Canadian. Okay? Then we go back to the most recent one, 2019. A&M Consolidated. They won. They went 11-1. They were area finalists, lost to eventual state finalist Fort Bend Marshall in the regional in the area round. Division 2, Sunnyvale. 12-1, regional semifinalist, lost to Pleasant Grove. Division 3, Poth, 11-2, regional semifinals. If you average all those teams about, those are the last 12 champions in state 7-on-7. They average 12 wins. Okay? Yeah. They average 12 wins. You have 3 state finalists. You have no state champions, to be fair. You have
Westlake, right? No.
They didn't win.
Okay.
You don't have any champions, but you do have 3 state finalists. Okay? All in Division 1 if you're interested in that. Every one of those teams made the playoffs. A lot of those teams made, you added another 2 state semifinalists into that mix. So 5 of the last 12 teams to win 7-on-7 tournaments made the state semifinals. And
it sounded like those of them that didn't make it past the area regional, they played eventually.
It came down to the draw, right?
To the people that either won the whole thing or made it to the whole thing.
Navasota lost to Carthage, right?
Yeah. They lost to Highland Park.
College Station lost to Highland Park in the second round. That's a bad draw in a lot of ways. So, look, I'm not here to say that if you win the state 7-on-7 tournament, that you're going to win state, or that you can just punch your ticket to AT&T Stadium. What I'm telling you, though, is that when the state tournament is over here in a couple of weeks, we should take an extra look at who won those championships. Now, look, let me pick a name out of thin air. Let's just say Katy were to win the Division 1 state championships. I hate to break it to you, or South Lake Carroll. Right?
Right.
South Lake Carroll wins the Division 1 7-on-7 tournament. I hate to break it to you. We already think South Lake Carroll is going to be pretty good.
They're not coming up from nowhere.
But the interesting ones for me would be teams like the Woodlands, teams like Poth, teams that maybe start a little bit off our radar. I think that's a reason to at least give them another look and say, well, obviously something's working here, and they're able to, they've obviously got some pieces that could make them viable in the fall. A lot can happen between now and December. But it at least gives us one extra little data point that I do think there is a tie. I don't know if it's necessarily always that case, but I do think that there's a tie between being successful at 7-on-7 and eventually going on to big things in the fall.
And let me add this in too, just from I'm going out to the SQTs and talking to all these coaches. The biggest thing, and it's there's a little debate going on in the comments right now, that yes, obviously teams like, say, South Lake Carroll that have a quarterback like Quinn Ewers and they are a passing heavy offense, they do better in 7-on-7 because that's the name of the game. There's no surprise there. You get teams that out there run the slot tee or the wing tee. Yeah. It's different for them, and you can't put as much stock into those run heavy teams. However, the thing that I've talked to coaches about, asking what do they take out of 7-on-7, and they're like, the camaraderie, I said that wrong, that the teams get from just being out there and being together and getting the reps in, they say that makes light years of difference in the fall.
And I'll just give you an example, and we'll talk more about this as time progresses and we get closer to the state's tournament in June, which is this month.
Time has no meaning.
There is a different, you have to take every team differently. That, for example, the Woodlands going out there and doing in 2016, that should have been a red flag for us and said, hey, look, they've got something cooking there. They've got some quarterback. They've got a quarterback. They've got some receivers. Things are going pretty well for the Woodlands, right? Things are, we should take another look at them. There are other teams that go out there that do not run offenses that are reflective of what they run in the fall.
Right.
There are teams that go out there and maybe they run the slot tee, and they go out there and run what was colloquially known as junk offenses, right? Where it's just like, this is a 7-on-7. You run routes that are you're never going to run in because a lineman would be standing there or a linebacker would be standing there, things like that. Those are things that you have to take into account. But that said, I also don't know. I would need to go through. I don't think, Gunner, I know, does not run a junk offense.
Mm-mm.
They run kind of a version of their own offense there in 7-on-7. So there are some teams that go out there and do that. But generally speaking, these are teams that when you get to the very top, these are teams that are running reflections of what their offense usually looks like. And that's probably a key component to this as well. And by the way, the defense is kind of this, doesn't have that necessarily that excuse.
Right.
They've got to go and play these offenses. So,
yeah.
Anyway, there's a little bit of 7-on-7 talk. It could be, it's interesting. And when we get to the end of the state tournament, just take an extra look at the teams that end up with the belt, because that's going to be an interesting teams to keep an eye on in the fall.
Well, and I was going to say one more quick thing, too, that they have been so heavy on, and maybe obviously it's because we didn't have this last year, but we talked to Rock Hill head coach Mark Umble, and he was like, just the fact that we were a brand new program getting to have our guys out here, he was like, this helps us regardless of what kind of offense we run.
And by the way, let's also not count out the fact that, I know we are now a year removed from last summer where 7-on-7 got canceled, but like for programs like that where you've only had X number of reps, getting those extra reps is going to be critical.
Yep.
And so that's something certainly to keep an eye on. So there you go, a little 7-on-7 talk.